is SF Ninja, and we're on Upper Big Tahunga Canyon Road. And I just traveled about 40 miles or so to get to this road. It's about a 9-mile stretch of broad, sweeping turns. There's a little bit of wind blowing here, so I'm going to be a bit cautious. This last week when I did this road, I was in the middle of a turn, and I got hit by a gust of wind, and that made the rear tire go out, and stayed on the gas, but I went a little bit wide. No one was around, so it was okay again. But yeah, I got to be careful of that. And then later on, I was riding along, going back down the mountain, and I was following a couple sport riders, and one rider, they were riding along, and the wind hit her, and I saw her flick out to the left, like to the opposing traffic, but there was no opposing traffic, but it was exactly the same thing that happened to me earlier. So I guess that's something to be careful of when you're riding around on these twisty roads up in the mountains, and there's a gust of wind. A gust of wind can actually upset you and make you feel like you're being pushed out or pushed sideways through the turn, and your rear tire might slide, and it can be kind of unnerving when that happens. So just something to be aware of when you're riding. Right, so I'm going to do 2 runs of this road. I'm going to go all the way to the end, and then the first run I'm just going to talk for a bit. I think on the second run I'm going to play some music and just cruise it back and cover a few topics along the way. Alright, so here we go. I was actually thinking of putting a piece of paper into my tank bag with a bunch of questions on them, because I get these questions all the time. So I'd remember to answer all of them as best as I could. Let's see. One of the questions was, how old do you have to be to take the MSF? The answer is at least 15 and a half. 15 and a half, the course I took is about $150, and then when you get to the age of 21, we jack up the price to $235 to take the basic rider course here in Los Angeles. I think it's a state set price, I think. So that's the answer to that question. 15 and a half for this area. Alright, next question was, this one I get quite a few times. When you're at a stoplight, what gear are you in? My answer is always the same. I'm in... My nose is running. It's disgusting. But the answer to that is I'm always in first gear, and the reason for that is when you come to like a stoplight, I like to sort of angle my bike slightly so that, especially if I'm behind a car, and it's a 2-lane each-way road. Let's say I'm in either left lane or the right lane of the 2 lanes going in the same direction. I kind of point my bike so it points between the 2 cars in front of me, if there's anyone in front of me, so that if someone's about to rear-end me, the fact that my bike is already at an angle allows me to just peek over at my rear-view mirror, and because my bike is angled, it sort of points the mirror straight behind me so I can see clearly without having to do any repositioning of my body to look into the mirror at the right angle. So I can just glance down and check to make sure no one's about to hit me from behind. And then, if someone is about to hit me from behind, because my bike is already angled and pointed towards that gap between the cars in front of me, I can just immediately, since I'm already in first gear, I'm already ready to go. And I just punch it and just pop between the 2 cars in front of me. or I might have it pointed to the outside if I want to pop over to the other side, just get out of the way. Either way, you always have this escape route planned even at a stop sign or stoplight. Ideally, that's actually useful if you're in a state where you can't lane split. Here, it's less of an issue because as long as there's enough space, you can just lane split any cars at the stoplight and always be first in line. This is probably the better thing to do in general. Statistically, getting rear-ended is actually pretty rare compared to getting hit by a car that's turning left in front of you from the oncoming lane. But that's the reason I stay in first gear all the time at a stoplight. The only exception to this is, say I want to, I don't know, push a button on my iPod, make an adjustment of some kind. Maybe I bump the mirror and I need to quickly reposition the mirror, then I'll pop it into neutral, only if there's like a car or two already stopped behind me. Then I'm reasonably sure that I'm not going to get hit from behind, and I won't have to make a sudden dodge. But in general, if I'm not doing anything, I'm going to stay in first gear and be ready to move at a moment's notice when I'm stopped. First gear.